You don't find yourself, you invent a mask and call it me. That's the tragedy of our time. We live in an era where self-expression is worshipped, where every person is told to be yourself. But what if that idea, the very thing that's supposed to set you free, is what's trapping you the most? Kierkegaard warned about this centuries ago. He said the greatest danger is not losing your life, but losing yourself, and still being alive. Today we live surrounded by mirrors, all reflecting who we're supposed to be. But almost none of us ever see who we actually are. Once upon a time, identity was something you grew into. It came from how you lived, from struggle, from relationships, from the choices that shaped your soul. Now identity has become a brand, something you curate, filter, and perform. A performance so convincing that even you start to believe it's real. We no longer ask, "Who am I?" We ask, "Who do people think I am?" Every caption, every post, every interaction becomes a brick in a prison we built with our own hands. Søren Kierkegaard called this despair. He didn't mean sadness, he meant the sickness of being cut off from yourself. To him, despair wasn't about losing hope. It was about wearing masks for so long that you forget there's a face underneath. Think about it. You post your victories, but never your failures. You share your authentic self, but only after editing it. You smile while secretly wondering, do I even believe the image I'm selling? You've built an identity that feels safe, but that safety has a price. It costs you your freedom. It costs you your truth. Jean-Paul Sartre took Kierkegaard's warning and turned it into a mirror for modern life. He said humans are condemned to be free. You can't escape responsibility for who you become, even when you pretend your life is shaped by others. And yet most people spend their freedom trying to become what others will approve of. They exchange their infinite potential for a fixed identity, one that gets likes, praise, or validation. They think they're discovering themselves, but they're just performing a role society wrote for them. You don't have to look far to see it. The influencer who becomes addicted to their own image. The intellectual who builds a brand on being different and ends up trapped in that very difference. The person who tries to find themselves and instead becomes obsessed with constantly reinventing their image, like changing clothes to match every passing trend. We've made authenticity into a costume, and the more we try to wear it, the less real we become. But here's the paradox. Sartre also said that you are not what you are. You are what you are becoming, which means your identity is never finished. The moment you define yourself too tightly, you stop growing. You become a statue of your own past. That's the invisible prison most of us live in. We cling to the label that once gave us meaning. The artist, the thinker, the rebel, the good person. We think it protects us, but it only cages us inside an image. We stop asking questions. We stop challenging ourselves, and we start defending the mask instead of the truth. Kierkegaard called this the crowd's temptation, the urge to become what the crowd approves of. He said, the crowd is untruth, because when you become part of the crowd, you stop existing as an individual. You dissolve into the roles and narratives that others have written for you. It's easier to be what people expect. It's easier to be the mask. Because being yourself, truly being yourself, means standing alone. And most people are terrified of that kind of solitude, so we keep performing. We pretend the mask is the self, but deep down, we know it's a lie. Look around. The entire world is a stage now. Social media is the modern cathedral of self-expression. We confess our thoughts, our moods, our beliefs, not to understand them, but to be seen having them. It's a marketplace of identities, where attention is currency and authenticity is marketing. But every time you adjust yourself to fit that marketplace, a small part of your real self dies. You become fluent in self-promotion, but illiterate in self-awareness. You mistake visibility for meaning, and you start confusing attention with love. Philosophy has a cruel truth for us. You can't find yourself by looking outward. The self isn't something you discover, it's something you create and destroy and create again. Kierkegaard said that the self only exists when it relates to something higher than itself, something beyond applause or identity labels. He called it becoming oneself before God, but you can think of it as becoming real before truth, to stand in front of the truth, naked without your mask. That's the hardest thing a person can do, because there, your excuses disappear. Your roles vanish. You can't hide behind how you want to be seen. You only see what you actually are, unfinished, uncertain, human. Sartre would say that's where freedom begins. Not the fake kind, not the you can be anything kind. Real freedom. The kind that comes when you realize you don't have to defend an identity. You just have to act and accept the consequences of those actions. Freedom isn't about expressing who you are. It's about choosing who to be next. Every moment is a chance to step out of your past self, but most people don't, because stepping out means admitting that the person you've been might not be who you truly are. That's why we stay in the prison, because it's comfortable, predictable. We can decorate it, call it authentic, and convince ourselves that we're free. But you can't be free if your whole life is a performance. You can't be real if you're terrified of changing your role. The philosophers tried to tell us this centuries ago, but we didn't listen. We turned their warnings into aesthetics, quotes on coffee mugs, captions under selfies. We've learned how to look deep, but not how to be deep. So how do you break out of the prison of the self? You stop performing. You start noticing. Every time you catch yourself trying to be seen, pause and ask, who am I trying to convince? Because every act of pretending costs you a piece of truth. And the truth is heavy, but it's the only thing that sets you free. The self isn't a brand to polish, it's a mystery to uncover. And the moment you stop needing others to confirm your identity, that's the moment you start becoming real. Maybe Kierkegaard was right. Maybe despair is the doorway to freedom. Because once you've seen how fake your masks are, you finally have the courage to take them off. And when you do, you won't find a perfect version of yourself waiting underneath. You'll find something raw, uncertain, alive, a soul that's still in progress. That's not weakness, that's truth. And truth is the only thing worth building a life around. If this made you question your own reflection, good. That's where transformation begins. If you're ready to stop performing and start becoming, subscribe. There's a lot more to uncover about who we really are and who we could be if we dared to step beyond the mask.